Hello, Night Nation. I'm Trace Trylko from the Sons of UCF, joined by Christian Simmons of the Pegasus Podcast. Eric Lopez is on assignment. Welcome to Around the Kingdom, as Elo says, the fastest UCF show. Christian, hello.
Hello. Happy to be here. I was saying to you before we started that my whole issue in life where I talk twice as fast as a normal human is usually a curse, but on this show might be a gift. So we're excited to be here.
That is right. Buckle up and get ready. Before we get going with our topics this show, let's welcome in the third member of our team. He is Adam Eaton from the Sons of UCF. Keeps an eye on the clock, keeps us on our toes. Adam, hello.
Hello, gents. Trace, I'm concerned for you. I think, Elo's good, but I think you may have met your match with Christian. So I wish you the best of luck tonight.
Oh, okay. Notice sent. All right. Well, Christian, is it just us in the UCF media bubble, or is there some actual buzz around Colorado at UCF? Saturday, 3:30 on Fox, big noon Saturday coming to the UCF campus as well. What are you feeling about this one?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's a case to be made that is this the buzziest UCF game outside of the 25-game winning streak? I can't recall another time, especially in the post-COVID era, that there's been a home game that the fans have been this amped for, that I'm seeing as much national social media coverage of. I think we're going to ignore that this is really more about Dion and Colorado coming to town than maybe UCF and what they're bringing to the table. But there's no way around the fact that it's the home game of the season. I never would have guessed really in the offseason that we'd get here. And it feels like there's more hype this week than we're going to see for the Florida game in the Swamp next week, probably regardless of anything that happens this weekend.
It's the game that doesn't have us talking about Gainesville, at least until after this one is over. High profile. But Gus Malzahn has been on this stage before, hasn't he, with a high-profile game? I remember Navy comes to mind. This is a big opportunity for UCF, though. You do have Colorado on that national stage, and a win here would put UCF into a bigger conversation.
Yeah, it's interesting. I actually, looking back at, and this is, again, not going to matter for anything in the Big 12, but in UCF's 10 years in the AAC, the years they started 2-0 in conference, they played for or won the conference. The years they didn't start 2-0 in conference, they didn't. So I know it feels like we're early in the conference race, but this is a big, big game. It's not just the hype. It's that if they actually go out there and win this game, which feels possible, there's suddenly, as teams start to fall off, they're emerging as one of those teams in this Big 12 title race that people are going to start talking about.
Well, you feel like UCF can run the ball. Colorado not very good against the run. Question is, can UCF's pass rush get any pressure on Shedeur Sanders? He is electric.
An absolutely terrifying question that I can't wait to see answered in real time on Saturday. And I've got to say the TCU performance was maybe not the most encouraging for what we thought the D-line was going to be this offseason to what it's been here so far. But as we move into this game, there was a lot of build up to when exactly we were going to get the time for this game. I don't know if I really loved being kept in confusion on that for about a week. But how are we feeling about a 3:30 p.m. kick in the bounce house?
I really think it's the best of all worlds, right? I mean, Colorado helped matters beating Baylor in a thriller, right? That launched the talk of the big noon Saturday being on campus. That has electrified the UCF student body to be out there and fans as well. 3:30 is great, right? It's hot enough in the day. We're going to see what happens with the storm over the course of the week, but hot, humid. I have family in the Denver area. My nephew goes to the University of Colorado at Boulder. Yeah, they have heat, but they don't have humidity. That could be a decided advantage for UCF. Fans get their tailgating in. And for people like us, maybe we get those late games after wrapping up press duties.
I'm glad you threw that one in because personally, great for everyone listening about the tailgating. I'm just trying to make sure I can catch the 10:30 kicks. So good for me there. But yeah, I mean, I don't think there's a way in Denver, Colorado, or Boulder, Colorado, to simulate that post-hurricane heat and humidity of a 3:30 p.m. Saturday. That's a factor. I don't know if Colorado's going to be ready for that.
Yeah, well, let's hope not. That is an advantage for UCF that they will be taking advantage of, right? They're going to run the ball at Colorado, wear them down, and hopefully they will. We saw that with Stanford. That comes to mind from a couple of years ago. Big noon Saturday. I thought it was interesting, RJ Harvey at the presser referencing game day, before his time. For us, it's just a part of our world, right? But for newer players, they don't have that experience. And of course, for the players, they're not really going to be a part of any of it. They'll be at the hotel. What's your prediction here? Do you think the crowd at Memory Mall will be bigger than that which we saw for game day back in 2018?
Well, dropping the optimism I'm so well known for, no, I don't think the crowd will be as big as the 2018 crowd for game day. I think UCF will get a good crowd. I think that Big Noon is going to be surprised by this type of crowd because while they're growing as a show and they've gotten bigger, it's still a little hit or miss on their locations of the crowds they pull. UCF's amped for this. It's going to be on Memory Mall. There's going to be a ton of people. there was so much. That 2018 game day game was almost like the culmination of the whole fan base, the peak of the winning streak, the peak of the national attention. We want to go to the playoff. It's regardless of what UCF would have done, it's just too early in the season for that level of hype. So I think it's going to be a great crowd. I just don't think it's going to be a 2018 game day crowd.
Was it estimated 20,000 people out there for game day, right?
It was, yeah. I mean, it was the most signs ever. Game Days said that publicly before, and it was a huge. So
real quick, want to credit Eric Lopez for writing about this long ahead of time, predicting that this could be what happens. UCF hosting that Fox show, so credit to Elo for that.
If you ever have a TV question about anything, go to Eric Lopez, and you will get the right answer. But I would actually say that I would rank Eric Lopez as one of the best folks to go to for any TV questions.
Smooth segue.
But speaking of rankings, still no UCF in the AP poll. They went from 6 votes to 3 this week. Are we thinking, is a Colorado win what it takes?
They failed in their bye week to make any progress. I don't think they get more credit for beating Colorado as much as Colorado, I think, because of their name, because of the win over Baylor. I think they creep into that conversation a little bit more. I think UCF still has some things to prove, but I think they're right on the edge. And, it depends on who falls ahead of them. But, the networks would sure love a top 25 matchup with Florida. And Florida ain't going to be the team in that top 25.
I think it's interesting because my instinct is to say no, but I was looking at some of the past AP polls, and BYU, this past week, they went from 2 votes in last week's AP poll to ranked in this week's, and all it took was beating Kansas State very badly at home. Now, is Colorado as good as Kansas State? I don't think anyone outside of Boulder would say that's the case, but a lot of eyeballs. You could maybe talk yourself into this is a game that there's going to be millions of viewers on. AP voters will probably be paying attention. Maybe UCF does something impressive and gets in that conversation.
And possibly now with that Florida game on SEC 19 or something, it is likely to be the highest rated regular season game for UCF on that slot for Colorado. All right. Couldn't have you filling in around the kingdom without some talk about uniforms. You get exactly 1 minute. Are we getting black and gold here? Come on now.
Wow, 1 minute. I thought this was actually going to be the whole show. That's disappointing that I have to limit myself here. But I mean, listen, with the strange sort of behind the scenes of UCF ditching Peter and Anthracite and Terry Mahadra saying we're taking advantage of being the only black and gold team in the Big 12.
How long did that last?
Terry Mahadra then giving the very straightforward quote to Matt Michelle of the Orlando Sentinel after the Pac-12 editions of, quote, I didn't realize they were going to add Colorado about making that statement. If you're UCF, you have to go. You've got to go out with black and gold. You can't seed the ground of your colors. And I don't know if Colorado's thinking that. I don't know if that's something that's occurred to Colorado fans, but for UCF fans, you have to establish yourself as the black and gold team of this conference.
Classic. What's the preferred look here?
Man, I don't know. It's tough because the best combo they have in their disposal is the gold helmets with the white stack UCF decal, Pegasus black jersey, Pegasus pants. But that's an iconic look, and they've worn it fairly regularly in recent years, most recently for the Gasparilla Bowl. It's one of those ones where I love it, but is it almost too good for this game? I don't know. You got to have gold helmets in there somewhere, though. That's the one thing I'm absolutely certain of.
That was a fast minute on uniforms, wasn't it?
I'm so proud of myself. But yeah, I mean, I hope that they were something cool. I'm excited to see what they do, but looking at the actual game itself and the team offense this year, it's been a ride. What's been better than we were expecting? What's been exactly we were expecting? What's been worse?
Well, let's go back and forth on better. I'm going to throw out this one. The offensive line, giving up 3 sacks through 3 games. I think fans had a lot of question marks about the offensive line. Mind you, there's New Hampshire, Sam Houston in there. But I think through 3 games, I have a lot of trust in Herb Hand, the offensive line coach. To me, they performed better than what I think a lot of fans thought going in.
I wouldn't argue with you with that one. On mine, honestly kind of goes hand in hand. For my better would be the running game. We knew it was going to be great. We knew that they had great players, but I don't think we were expecting it to be this great, that they've got 4 guys deep in that room, all averaging, I think 3 of them are averaging over 6 yards a carry. RJ's been amazing. It's just talking about in the offseason, but seeing in real time, being able to just put guy after guy out there who the defense just can't stop has been incredible and really better than I ever imagined it being.
All right. What's something that has gone about as well as you expected on offense? KJ
Jefferson, which is not a thing that I would have said after the New Hampshire performance, which we all loved, but he's been pretty much what we were expecting. He's not a superstar who's gonna, put up 6 touchdowns and be crazy and go win the Heisman, but he's not letting them down. He's stepping up in big moments. He's showing his experience as a senior. We saw that in the second half against TCU, that he was not fazed by the atmosphere. He's been exactly what UCF was hoping they'd get from him.
See, for me, the expected was the running game. I think this is what we've been talking about all off season, the 4 running backs. And I think we've seen exactly what we thought we'd get. So they performed well. right? But maybe no RJ Harvey passes yet. How about worse on
There's
offense?
time. There's time. As far as worse, I think I could just say the future RJ Harvey pass attempt would be what was worse than I was hoping for, but we can talk about something we've actually seen. You got to go for the wide receivers. We were wondering who would step up as wide receiver 3 behind Kobe and Townsend. I'm actually kind of waiting for Townsend to step up as wide receiver 2. We just haven't seen really anything from that unit yet outside of Kobe. And I understand that this is a run first offense. It's the game went well if you're not chucking it all over the place, but that's not going to win you a Big 12 title. That's not going to get you 9-3 or 10-2 in this conference if no one's stepping up there. It's never a good situation when your tight end is your second best pass catcher.
Do you have any eligibility left, by the way?
Even if I did, I would not even try to subject the world to that. So I think I'll be out on that.
Well, because, so far through 3 games, you have 0 catches. You're 1 behind Trent Whittemore, Jacoby Jones, and Javarius Johnson, who each have 1. This is a challenge, right? I think the running backs have helped matters out, catching some passes, and we saw what Randy Pittman can do. But at some point, Kobe Hudson is going to have an off night, right? Or double teamed. Somebody else is going to have to step up. I asked Coach Malzahn at the Monday media availability about that, and he says he has confidence in the rest of the guys. Yeah, I'd like to see the rest of the guys at some point.
I would too.
Soon.
What happens when Travis Hunter is on Kobe this weekend? What happens to the wide receivers?
You're going to need to see some other people do some other things. All right, shifting to the other side of the ball. How about defense? Better. What's been expected? What perhaps is worse? We'll start with better for you.
I mean, I think the clear better is coming off of a year where UCF absolutely could not stop the run at all. The fact that they've somehow assembled a defense through 3 games that teams can't really run on. Now, I know New Hampshire and Sam Houston, it would have been a bigger story if they could run on them, but TCU could not run the ball at all. They're about to face a Colorado team who their leading running back has 87 yards on the season, so I'm not expecting a big performance.
That's like a quarter and a half for RJ.
I was say that's literally RJ's first quarter. He would be stunned if he looked at those numbers, but yeah, I don't know how they manufactured such an impressive turnaround. Not to say the defense doesn't have issues, because they do, but from really they went out of their way to fix the number one issue from last year, and I've been so impressed by that through 3 games.
Let me throw out a name for you. We had him during the Monday media availability. Quadric Bullard, long-standing member of the UCF Knights. I think fans would be surprised to know that he's second in the team in tackles. Right? I don't know that he'd be the first name that would jump out at you, and I think he's been steady. I think we still don't know a whole lot about the secondary because of the nature of the first 2 opponents. I think we saw they were gashed a bit by TCU, but they're going to be challenged on Saturday against Colorado. How about expected?
Expected, I think that we're probably going to go with the secondary, and that was because I didn't know what to expect from them, and I still don't really know what to expect from them. The TCU game was worrying. You don't want to see a situation where you just went up against TCU and you had a quarterback to wide receiver connection that you just couldn't handle. And now your next game is Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter. That's not ideal, but we knew that unit would be different. They brought in a ton of new faces. It hasn't shown up in a huge way yet, but we weren't really expecting this unit to be elite. It's kind of just still in that question mark mode of where we kind of were probably in July is where I'm still am at now with that unit.
I'd say a name that for me has performed as I expected is Deshaun Pace. He leads the team in tackles. He's been disruptive. You saw what he was like on the last drive in Fort Worth against TCU. But that's why they brought him in, right? So he's sort of performing like I expected. All right, I think we all have consensus, right, on worst of the defense so far. You begin.
Yeah, well, I mean, really quickly on Deshaun Pace, let me just say that on the Pegasus podcast, we draft transfers every year. We pick who we think will be the top transfers in the class, and neither of us took Deshaun Pace, so listen to our podcast for more excellent insights on who's going to step up. Yeah, as far as disappointments, there was a lot of talk this offseason about UCF's elite D-line, and this is the unit that we probably are going to worry about the least, and there's no concerns there. It's an elite unit. Haven't gotten much pressure through 3 games, and that almost cost them the TCU game. And honestly, if they can't get Shedeur Sanders on the ground this weekend, it's going to be a long day. I'm still waiting for that unit to be what we thought it was going to be. John Walker's been hurt. You can't discount that, but you've got Ricky Barber, you've got Lee Hunter, you got Malachi Lawrence. It's time to start seeing that unit be what we thought it was going to be.
Malachi Lawrence is my disappointment. I spoke to him at media day. He promised me double-digit sacks. They got 1 as a unit in 3 games.
Did he say over what course of time? He could have meant multiple seasons. We're not sure.
It was this season. He thought he could do double digits. All right, time to bring back in Adam and our silly game.
I will get to the silly game in a second, gents, but do not forget we're brought to you by our good friends at the Cure Bowl, December 20th down at Campbell World Stadium. It is Orlando versus Cancer. The good news is you can join the home team. If you go to curebowl.org right now, you can sign up, get some tickets. A lot of events happening around the stadium there, so do not miss that. Often one of the better bowl games of the bowl season. So curebowl.org is how you get your tickets. All right, gentlemen. The game this week, relatively easy. Christian, I'll break you in easy on this one. It's going to be a multiple choice question. I'm going to give you an option. You tell me what you want to pick. All right, I'll start with you, Christian. Here you go. The question is this. Which of these two individuals do you trust to create a better game plan on Saturday? Gus Malzahn or Ted Roof? Which do you trust more to create a better game plan? Gus Malzahn or Ted Roof?
Well, let me just say I've been fearing what the silly game was going to be with a lot of trepidation for days now, so I'm feeling okay about this one. I can't believe I'm saying this because I understand sometimes his game plans include things like an Isaiah Bowser pass to John Rush Plumlee, but I trust Gus Malzahn more right now. The defense has improved in some ways, but at the end of the day, the quote I can't get out of my head was the Athlon article about Big 12 coaches talking anonymously about each other. And even another Big 12 coach referred to Ted Roof as a buddy hire, that he didn't understand why UCF didn't go get a real defensive coordinator and just got a Gus retread. We haven't seen enough yet to trust him. TCU, they did not come back and beat TCU necessarily because of the defense's strong performance. The defense's performance was the problem most of the night. We haven't really seen the blitzing and aggression he was promising in the offseason. I'm jury's still out on Ted Roof for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think in this category, you have to trust Gus Malzahn more, but this is such a challenging question. I don't think we have a lot of sample size for Ted Roof yet. They brought him in, right, to win games like they're going to have Saturday. Does he have the guys to do it? And we just talked about what has so far through 3 games been an overrated defensive line. You know what you face with Shedeur Sanders and the talented wide receivers that they have. Can they get pressure? Can they do enough? I don't know, but I'd say I trust Gus more. But he's got a lot of options that he can use. I can be the O coordinator. They're going to run the ball.
Well, I hear they have openings for their co-spots, so I'll put your name in the hat, Trace. All right, I'll start with you on this one. You two are both very active on social media, so I feel like you two are best positioned to answer this question. Trace, I was surprised at how many Colorado fans are really on social media, actively kind of going after UCF. So thinking of the Big 12 fan base, which other school has the most vocal, the most engaged Twitter fan base that you've had a chance to deal with?
Well, I think it's still early, right? I think we jawed a little bit with the Texas Tech folks last year. I think Utah, Kansas State, they have reputations. Cyclone Larry, right, on Twitter for Iowa State comes to mind.
Well, as far as seeing lots of Colorado fans on Twitter, are we seeing lots of Colorado fans on Twitter, or are we seeing a lot of Deion fans who are completely dressed in black and gold? I don't know. Just food for thought. Yeah. I would echo with you, Trace. I feel like the fan bases I see the most on Twitter for the Big 12, it's Utah and Kansas State and probably Texas Tech and the drop off. Those 3 are the ones that I feel like are constantly sort of in the sphere. As far as ones that really get after UCF on stuff, it's still Cincinnati. I don't think they're the largest, but they definitely won't leave me alone. And I see them all the time. So they're definitely in that conversation just for my sphere. But yeah, I Kansas State and Utah in particular, too, who I just feel like they've got a presence, and maybe not the 2 I would have expected when UCF joined this league, but they both have really, really active social media presences.
At by CA Simmons on Twitter for everybody. All right, so since Christian's here, I'm going to show off a little bit. I got a new option. I'm going to play some videos here. So I'm going to play you 2 sounds. Christian, I'll start with you. 2 sounds. I want you to tell me which of these sounds are funnier. All right, it's all I'm going to give you 2 sounds back to back. You tell me which of these are funnier. First one is Kyle Whittingham trying to pronounce Shedeur Sanders' name.
See Shedeur, but he's Shedeur, excuse me, but he's.
Or is it Gus Malzahn saying Colorado?
Opponent, which Colorado.
Which is funnier, Christian, Shedeur or Colorado?
Not that I don't love reinventing players' names, but I've never heard of Colorado, and I'm not entirely sure where it is, but you got to give props to Gus for being so focused on football that sometimes the spelling of states is just secondary to the game plan. That shows a commitment to the sport.
It's fair.
I'd like to hear him say Nevada. What would he say there?
Nevada.
The Shedeur pronunciation was entertaining. I'll go with that one.
All right. Enjoy.
All right, Christian, you're up.
Yeah, I really that was great. I'm happy we could talk about all the fake Colorado fans who are really just Deion fans. But speaking of social media, quite the day on social media yesterday when I think we're up to 3 different FBS conferences, all very publicly sort of went after each other in some interesting ways. What's going on? What's going on with the Pac-12 versus the Mountain
I
West?
don't know.
The AAC circling as well.
Your AAC school said we want nothing to do with the Pac-6. The Mountain West is extracting a ransom from the Pac schools. They're suing? It's all a mess. This is not the Pac-10, Pac-12 that you remember. This is a watered-down conference. I'm sorry, you can't add Utah State and be considered serious for TV dollars.
I think that, well, that's right. They had a Utah State, the Pac-7. We got to get this name right. We got to stay up with this. I can't believe I'm saying this, and I'm sure you will disagree, but it's a sign of where college football is that I said the sentence out loud. I can't believe USF turned down their Pac-12 offer. I think that was a mistake. I feel like that sentence alone is just the nutshell of where we are with this beautiful, beautiful sport.
Where did they end up? They're really banking on the ACC, and if the ACC wanted them, they'd already come calling.
Yeah,
they went after SMU.
They're going to the Big Ten. Their Twitter accounts have been very open about that. They are AAU members after all, so they will be automatically invited one of these days.
Yeah, I don't think so. All right, let's talk Big 12 through the first couple of weeks. Got to tell you, pretty impressed with Utah. Without their quarterback, go in and beat Oklahoma State pretty handily.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, it's crazy to me that we have now seen 7 conference games in the Big 12 and 5 have been decided by single digits. I think my biggest takeaway from the conference is just that the hype of this offseason, the last couple of years of this league is going to be crazy. It's just going to be chaos with 16 sort of similar teams. We saw that. We saw that with Utah and Oklahoma State going down to the wire. We saw it with Arizona State and Texas Tech. We saw it with Colorado's ridiculous game with Baylor, where Baylor blows a big lead. Colorado hits a Hail Mary to force overtime. Travis Hunter forces a fumble in overtime. The league's just chaos. I'm have full faith. I don't think there's a single team, not even Utah, who's going to make it out of the slate with at least 2 losses. It's just everyone's too close together. Things are just freaking crazy every weekend.
I'm hoping that when UCF goes out to BYU, that's a high noon game. I don't care what time of the day it is, but I don't want to play there at night. I think Kansas State learned that. How about BYU? They got knocked around a little bit in their first year in the Big 12. UCF at 6-6, the only team with a winning record, right? But hey, they're undefeated at the top of the standings along with UCF.
Yeah, I didn't see that one coming. And to be honest with you, there is a somewhat subtle, maybe not so subtle bit of bitterness in me that UCF will now never have been the first G5 to Big 12 team to get ranked. BYU now has that distinction for the rest of time. This came out of nowhere. They struggled last year. If I remember right, they started 5-2 and then they did 5-7. They've just, I did not see this coming. The team was not overly changed, but are they in it now? Is that a team that we have to be talking about? That was one of my gimme games for UCF. It was that in Cincinnati where the easy wins. And now that one's suddenly a ranked matchup at home.
Yeah, I got beat up a little bit on social media when I said that those 2 games, BYU and Cincinnati, all of you thought they were slam dunks. No, there are no slam dunk games. Yeah, but everybody marks those 2 games as automatic wins for UCF. And I'm just saying, not as easy as you thought a couple of weeks ago. Utah against who? Big 12 championship game.
The UCF
a lot of
Knights
schools
of
in
Central
contention
Florida.
for that. Well, why not?
Why not? At this point of the season, you can say anything. But yeah, I remember when I remember a time that I marked off Navy in 2022 as an easy win. That we're even doing a podcast on this game, so we'll see what happens there. But speaking of the schedule, let's get the update on your guys' schedule draft.
Well, Elo it leads with 2. He's 2 for 2. Adam with 1, but Adam now has UCF over Colorado. I have BYU, Cincinnati, and Arizona State. I don't feel as good as I did 3 weeks ago with that. So, Adam, next up, opportunity with UCF over Colorado. All right, props. We prop bet last week was saves men's soccer, women's soccer goalies on the road, but women's soccer game got canceled out due to inclement weather in Iowa State. This one, courtesy of our friend Eric Lopez, who I said, hey, what do we got for a prop this week? He goes, how many snaps does Travis Hunter get versus UCF? I love it. I love it. So we're going to keep track of this. Closest to, you can go over. What do you got?
Well, I mean, I think that I would just count how many snaps Colorado's going to be playing in this game, and that would be pretty close to a number for Travis Hunter. But he's broken 120 in every game this year, which is crazy to say out loud. I think that because the Baylor game went to overtime, I think he broke 140 in that game, which is something. I don't know. Is this a situation where if it's – I don't understand how he's doing this, first off. This defies human physicality that he's able to just basically be their 2 best players at the same time. But part of me wants to lower the number a little bit just because they're coming off that overtime Baylor game, and how doable is this as the season goes along. And you kind of have to wonder if the Florida humidity is going to take a toll or anything like that. So I'm going to say this is going to be his first game of the year under 120. I'm going to go at 110.
110. A little close to what I had. By the way, 123 snaps against Colorado State, 145 against Baylor. That game goes overtime. I'm really banking on the humidity here. We saw Pittsburgh, we saw Stanford really kind of wear down throughout the game. If Gus and the game plan is successful, running the ball, chewing up the clock, keeping Shedeur Sanders off the field. And by the way, do you go after him or do you stay away from him? I think you run the ball, but I think you stay away from him on defense. I'm going with 114, so we're really close in there. You're going to do well on an under. I'll do well on an over, and we'll see how it turns out next week.
The triple overtime game where he puts up 160-something snaps is going to blow us both out of the water, but
we don't need that.
No one needs that. The world does not need that. But yeah, it's like I said, the craziest point to Travis Hunter with me is just he is literally their top two players are Travis Hunter on offense and Travis Hunter on defense. I don't know how he's going to do this over the course of a season, but he's going to figure it out somehow. But why don't we? I love when I hit right on the boom. That is such a great feeling when you finish a sentence and that boom just hits. But why don't we go ahead and hop into the Olympic sports update?
Yeah, what do you make of this so far? Sort of a mixed bag, don't you think? I mean, volleyball has struggled, it feels like, in a lot of its matches. They're 7-2. They open conference play, but their losses Florida State, Maryland, and now they go on the road to Kansas at number 10. Kansas opens up their Big 12 schedule. They were picked 11th. Doesn't feel like it's taking off in year two in the Big 12. Women's soccer, how about this? They beat Houston a week ago 5-0 in the conference opener. Arizona State goes to Houston, wins 2-0. Arizona State's got to come to Orlando, high noon on a Sunday, and it's a 1-1 draw. I think that's a missed opportunity for UCF as they go on the road to Kansas State. And then men's soccer, boy, Luca Dorado out. They can't generate anything. What's your sense here? Our hopes are on football to carry us through the fall.
Our hopes are not on that football. It's unfortunate. I don't like that we've sort of gotten in the habit of men's soccer where they crack a top 10 ranking and everyone gets very excited and then they immediately.
It's a kiss of death, right? You just know, really don't pick them in the next game.
I don't enjoy one of my soccer teams having 2007 USF energy year after year, but that's unfortunately where we've been at these last two seasons. So it's good that they have that respect and they're getting those rankings. It's time to start following through on it.
Yeah. There's opportunity here, but the soccer seasons are very short. So I think when you drop points at home, like women's soccer did, and you got to go on the road, you got to get some wins, and that is hard to do in any sport. So for women's soccer, volleyball on the road in Kansas, men's soccer back home need a win on Friday in conference play. So. Something to watch for. Of course, amidst all the football talk, there are other sports going on. All right, time to bring back in Adam. Adam, what did we get right? What did we get wrong? Educate us, please, sir.
All right, here's what I got. Fun fact for your courtesy of UCF. Gus Malzahn is 1-2 in games after bye weeks at UCF. 2 losses to.
That's not good enough. 1-2.
No, it's not good. The aforementioned Navy and Oklahoma. Colorado's given up 16 sacks on the year. Hopefully something has to give there with UCF's lack of pressure. You guys talked about the weather right now. 50% chance of rain at 4 p.m. in the UCF area, so keep an eye on that. Trace, according to the Orlando Sentinel, the crowd at game day exceeded 20,000 people, so you are correct on that number. I tried to look up this Pac-12 thing. There's a lawsuit, something about $50 million. I'm not going to look at all that, but it was official 6 minutes ago. The Pac-12 tweeted, "Welcome to Utah State." So get used to that. And
whoever was doing social media is like, "You want me to type what?
Yeah.
You and mean Utah?"
My recipe for Travis Hunter is Kobe Hudson, get a lot of cardio, and let's hopefully run Travis Hunter tired.
I like that.
Utah State. Hey, a quick happy anniversary. 45 years, by the way, to UCF playing football. Boy, how far the Knights have come. One more thing, Christian, before we go. FanDuel Sportsbook has updated its Big 12 title odds. UCF now second at 500-1. Utah still the favorite. They are at 180-1. Colorado, by the way, 3,000-1. Hey, you want to drop $1 on Houston? You win 50,000. They're 50,000-1. What's your confidence level?
My confidence level is that I wouldn't drop one penny on Houston. What great odds to try to entice someone into that. But yeah, I'm baffled a little bit. I mean, it's nice. It's UCF's in a weird spot right now, brand wise, where I'm not totally sure why they're getting such favorable odds to win the Big 12, especially since 2 of their 3 games were games that they could do anything in. And the one real game they played, they won by a point. But I guess you take the hype, right? And you just hope that you can build off of it. I mean, this is a showcase moment. They win this weekend. People are going to talk about UCF as a Big 12 title contender very differently than they are right now. Like, the ingredients are there. You go out there and win this game in front of this crowd on this channel. Yeah, you're going to get that hype.
All right. How'd you enjoy this week's Around the Kingdom?
It was good. Like I said, my fast talking, this is the first time it's ever not been a detriment. So I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful that I've been practicing for 27 years of my life to talk at that speed, and it was fun. Got through some good stuff.
Look for new episodes midweek every week on the Sons of UCF YouTube channel. Drops later wherever you get your audio feed. Christian, glad to have had you this week on Around the Kingdom. For Adam, for Christian, I'm Trace Trylko. Thanks everyone for being with us for Around the Kingdom.